thing I wish someone would have told me my first year as a BCBA is there is always another and a better job. No one ever told me that. Hi, I'm Dom, the BCBA mom. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, we're gonna get right into it today. There are just some things that you aren't gonna learn until you've experienced your first year as a BCBA. These are some of the things that they may not teach you in class, but guess what? We're gonna talk about them right now. These are 10 things I wish I knew my first year as a BCBA. But before we get into it, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That way you get notifications on when I upload more videos because it just keeps getting better. All right, let's get it. Number one, once you become a BCBA, you are going to be expected to know how to write treatment plans and conduct assessments. Now, you may not spend a lot of time doing this during your coursework, but if you feel like this is a skill that you are not as comfortable or as confident in and you want to brush up on your skills, you want to utilize your supervision and tell your supervisor, hey, I want more assignments, unrestricted assignments where I'm conducting a variety of assessments across different assessments so that I feel competent and confident in conducting that particular assessment. The crazy part is every company that you are employed at may use different assessments. Some may use the ABLES or the AFLs or the Violin, or just there are a number of assessments out there. So you can be fluent in 3 or 4 different assessments and then you get hired at another job and they're only using the Violin. So you are going to be expected to know how to conduct these assessments. So try to get some practice in early. You're also going to be expected to write the treatment plans. This is all you. I remember my first year of being a BCBA, I think I had to write 20 treatment plans within the course of 4 months. It was hard. It was a lot of pressure. And my treatment plans were not that great because sometimes you have to get to know a client first before the treatment. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into all of that. The second thing I wish I would have known is you may be required to do a criminal background check, a TB test, a fingerprint, a drug screening. We are a discipline that works with a vulnerable population. So it is important, I said it in previous videos, it is important for us to keep our records clean. It's important to keep our driving records clean. Just stay out of trouble in real life so it doesn't affect your career as a BCBA. Number 3, it's more than just a career change, it will be a life change. Once you become a BCBA, you are governed by our ethical codes. You may be governed as a mandated reporter, depending where you work. Now you may be required to be CPR certified or first aid certified. That means when you see stuff happening, you can no longer be a bystander. You can no longer turn a blind eye to things that are not right that are going on around you, because you are now required or mandated to report abuse or neglect. You are required to follow our ethical guidelines no matter what. I had a job that they said if any of our clients were to go into cardiac arrest, we are required to do CPR and first aid. We can't just stand there and wait. Like, we are required to do the chest compressions, 2 breaths, that is now our job. So be prepared that your lifestyle may change now that you're a BCBA. You are responsible for a lot more than just behavior plans. So let's just talk a little bit about being a mandated reporter. Being a mandated reporter is not an easy responsibility. Like, imagine if you saw a colleague, a friend of yours, doing something that they're not supposed to do, or you didn't see it, but the client reported that it happened. Now you have to be responsible for following all those steps, calling DCFS, calling OIG. That is not a good feeling. I've had to do it a few times in my career and it never feels good, but they don't tell you about these feelings or these tasks that we are required to do as BCBAs. So I just wanted to let you know that part of our job will never get easier. Number 4, you may be required to do some type of training, like safety care training or crisis prevention intervention training. And these are pretty much trainings that you are required to do either annually or once every 2 years that will keep you safe and keep your clients safe. So as behavior analysts, we handle behaviors. Sometimes the behaviors can be aggression. Sometimes the aggression can be towards us. So when you choose this role in behavior analysis or as a BCBA, you have to come to terms with the fact that this can be a potentially harmful or dangerous position. And this is why we have to equip ourselves with training, ongoing training, practice, hands-on practice, and just consulting with experts to make sure that we are making right moves, safe moves for ourselves and the ones that we served. So yeah, number 5, you will never stop using your Cooper book. Okay, some of you may feel like, okay, once I pass this exam, I'm gonna take that Cooper book and I'm gonna throw it out the window. I never wanna see it again. Please don't do that, because you will always need your Cooper book. I didn't really start using my Cooper again until I became a supervisor and until I started creating trainings. That's when you really wanna check with Cooper, reference Cooper, very, very regularly. But even as a new BCBA, when I was writing treatment plans, I would always still reference or making sure that I'm putting procedure ends correctly, or just checking with Cooper for any and everything. Do not discard your Cooper book. That is what you will utilize for the rest of your career. Number 6, being a BCBA is low-key expensive. So there are certain things that we have to pay for out of pocket. We have to pay for tuition. Some of us have to pay for study materials and our Cooper book. Pay for your application to sit for the exam. When it's time to recertify, you have to pay another recertification fee. You have to pay for your own CEUs. You may have to pay for your own conferences. So that includes conference registration, hotel, transportation, going out afterwards for drinks or whatever it is that you're gonna do in the city. You are responsible for that. One thing that I've done in the past is I've asked my company to sponsor me or send me to a conference, and they'll pay for my registration, and I will then bring the information back from the conference to the agency, and I would train some of my colleagues on what I learned. So that is one way to reduce the cost of being a BCBA. You can get people to sponsor some of the things that we have to do. You can ask your agency if they can provide you with free CEUs so that you don't have to pay for all 32 of them out of pocket, because that can get pretty expensive. Another thing you have to pay for is your car, your mileage, gas, the upkeep on your car. If you are anything like me, my clients are all over the place. So I'm driving 45 minutes here, another hour and a half there. So you have to have a reliable vehicle. I remember in my graduate program, there were a few of my cohort members who didn't have cars. And that was cool while we were still in the course. But when it was time for them to find a job, they realized that they needed a car. So they may not tell you this up front, but it's easier when you have a reliable vehicle when you are a BCBA, because you may do a lot of commuting. We may be responsible for purchasing our own materials, our own reinforcers for our clients, printing. I've bought so many printers. I've run through so many printers and ink and paper and like notebooks and planners and laptops and literally bags, so many bags just to keep all of your stuff in. Those are things that are coming out of your pocket. If you want a video on how much it costs to be a BCBA, and I actually give you some of these numbers, just comment below. I have no problem with sharing literally how much I spend on this career in 1 year. That could be a whole video. Anyway, the seventh thing I wish I knew my first year as a BCBA is you do not have to stay in a toxic work environment. In ABA or being a BCBA, or when you are trying to become a BCBA, there is this hierarchy that we think we have to follow. We think we have to suffer a little bit in order to reap the benefits. Now, there is going to be some work involved, and you don't want to always avoid or escape aversive situations because that may be an opportunity to learn. However, if you see that a job is toxic, a supervisor is toxic, the work environment is not safe, they are putting you in unsafe positions, you don't feel trained, you don't feel valued, you don't feel whatever, you do not have to stay at that job. There are so many jobs that I stayed in longer than I needed to, either because I didn't believe in myself, I didn't want to leave my clients, I didn't want to desert the company. I felt like, I would look flaky if I didn't stay at a job for at least 2 years or 3 years, or I felt like I just have to, grin and bear it. Like this is what everybody has to get. No, you don't. You do not, okay? Because at the end of the day and at the end of your life, the only person that you should be concerned with the most is yourself. So if that job is bringing you joy and it just happens to be a little stressful at times, that's different. But if that job is depleting you and making you feel worthless and not pouring into you, you do not have to stay at that job. One thing I wish someone would have told me my first year as a BCBA is there is always another and a better job out there. We are in demand, and you do not have to stay where you are not celebrated, appreciated, supported, and protected. Boom. Number 8. Get your CEUs early, and you should attend professional conferences. So we have to get 32 CEUs per credentialing cycle. Don't wait until the last minute to get your CEUs. As soon as you become a BCBA, start signing up for some CEU courses that you're interested in, especially if you feel like you are not competent in that area. This is a way to become more competent. So you can do your CEUs online, or you can sign up and register for professional conferences. I think a mixture of both is really great because sometimes you just have to get it done and you don't have the time or the money to travel and go to a professional conference, but you really need that CEU or that information. So you get it in the moment right when you need it. But when you want to build a community and network and just see what else is out there, see what everyone else is doing, and learn and grow more, I would recommend going to professional conferences. You can start with the one that is in your city. You can Google some professional conferences that you may be interested in, but I do recommend going to some professional conferences your first year as a BCBA. Number 9. So this is what someone told me, and it literally it happens every day. So number 9 is, once your friends and family figure out what it is that you do, really figure out what you do, you are going to be everybody's behavior analyst. You are going to have family members and friends calling you pretty frequently, asking you questions about either their child, their loved one, what is ABA, what can I do, what are some of our first steps. I say have those conversations. That can be the deciding factor of whether someone gets an early diagnosis versus a later diagnosis. That could be the deciding factor of a person's quality of life just by you sitting and having those conversations with your family members and your friends. You may be the only person that they are comfortable with talking to before they actually go out and seek out that neurologist and go and tell their doctor and all of that. Now, I'm not saying go out and give unsolicited advice to your cousins and your aunties and your uncles like, you know, little Kevin, you need to watch him because I think that he may need some. No, that is not what we do. But if a family member or a friend calls you and say, hey, I know what you do. I heard a little bit about who you work with. I want to know if we can have a conversation about some concerns that their teacher brought up. I think that is perfectly fine. But remember, you are not taking a friend or a family member on as a client because that would be a dual role. But it is perfectly fine to disseminate what it is that we do, to be a listening ear, to be a supportive friend, and you can be a part of their community. Number 10. Last thing I wish I would have known my first year as a BCBA is you need to find you some BCBA friends, okay? So I'm not saying to be exclusive, right? And only have BCBA friends, but it is really important as you are learning and growing and experiencing different things to have somebody that you can just call on your 1 hour commute home and maybe talk over a case. You don't want to give them any personal information about a client, but you may be able to talk through some situations that you don't have much experience on, but they may have experience. Someone to vent to, someone to share resources with. When I tell you I have a group of amazing BCBA friends and all I have to say is, hey, does anybody have any resources on this? Does anybody know of any assessments that I can get for free? Does anyone know of a 40-hour RBT training? The resources that you will have access to once you build you a community of other BCBA friends. So you can also build a community of social worker friends or OT friends, speech educators, whatever that group looks like, because this is all about us collaborating and having continuity of care. But we are not meant to do this job alone. We are not meant to work in isolation, even though we sometimes feel like we are in isolation a lot. I know. Find you a BCBA group. How do you find that? Facebook. Following people on Instagram. Your community doesn't have to be someone that lives in your city. It could just be somebody that you follow on Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my name on Instagram is Dom_the BCBA Mom. Find your community, and if nothing else, you are definitely welcome in my community. I'm so glad that you are here, that you continue to watch the Dom the BCBA Mom YouTube channel, because here is where you are loved, you are welcomed, you are educated, you are celebrated right here. So, okay. That is not an exhaustive list, but I'm going to stop for now. Let me know what other questions you have in the chat, or you can add to the list. Tell me more things that you found out, you discovered in your first or second year of being a BCBA that you wish somebody would have told you a lot sooner. All right, that is all. Once again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.